it's always going to be a process. Like I'm still in the process. And it's not, I wouldn't say that it's like the hardest thing to do, but it takes consistency. It takes you have to be, passionate about it in order for it to work. You can't just do it because you see other people doing it and you want to, make money from it, because that's not why you start.
You are now listening to The Gradient Radio, an open space to converse about creativity with creatives. And I'm your host, Antonio Knox. And today we have a special guest. Today, our guest is a natural hair, beauty, and lifestyle vlogger. Today, our guest is April Goode. How are you, April?
I'm doing well. How are you?
How was that intro?
It was good. Yeah, I feel honored.
For sure. I appreciate you coming on, taking this time on Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for the people who may not know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is April Goode, but I go by April Nicole _X on all of my social media platforms. I am a natural hair, vlogger, I guess content creator. Been doing it for a while now. But I also dabble in photography, as well as lifestyle, beauty, skincare.
For sure. So how did you get your start in just being a creator, like from, I guess, not in the, obviously we're going to get to like the content creator space. When did you feel like you were like creative at something?
I actually didn't always feel like I was creative, I guess. I felt like my siblings always had like this outlet to do. Like my brother is a tattoo artist, my sister braids hair, my other sister was always into fashion, so I just felt like I was trying to find my way, in the family. So yeah, for a while I didn't know, but I knew that I always loved watching natural hair videos, or just videos in general, vlogs, and just seeing how people edit. And I think that when I started to actually do it, the editing part was like the most, fun part to me. So that's technically how I got started. It was just trying to find something that I was good at.
Okay. So it was like kind of like early, mid-20s when you started to kind of like dive into like the YouTube space.
Yeah, it was definitely early 20s. Yeah. I was in college, so I was, watching a lot of YouTube videos. And I always said like, oh, I want to do that. But I never actually did it right away until it was probably my first year out of college, and your first year out of college, you're trying to figure out,
for sure,
like, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Do I want to use this degree, or do do I want to hone into, my creativity? So one day I just set up this old iPhone and just started recording.
So what did you go to school for?
I actually went to school for sociology. Yeah, so nothing to do with what I'm doing now, like the creativity part of it. But I just love the study of, I guess it does kind of tie in, but I love the study of the groups of people.
For
so
sure.
I can still utilize it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you set up that iPhone, right, and you was like, I'm going to do this. What was that? How did you feel? Like, what was that moment like? Do you remember that moment?
So the filming part, I would say, isn't the hardest part. The hardest part was posting it.
Okay.
Filming it, it was kind of like, it was something that was fun. It's like, oh, I'm doing it, I'm recording. But then going to edit it and then posting it, that was hard, because then I'm thinking like, everyone that follows me, these are people that I know. These are people that I went to school with, who are going to see this and are probably going to pick it apart, So that was the recording and doing it, that wasn't the hardest part in the beginning for me. And it was still new, so I didn't know everything about editing, or I was probably putting out raw videos, so I would definitely say actually posting it was the part that was hard, and seeing what the reaction would be.
Yeah. So do you remember what the reaction was?
I don't really remember what the reaction was. I do remember telling my family, like, oh, I want to do YouTube. And of course, my family was very supportive of me. And I don't think that I even told my friends right away, because I was, nervous about that. And then I also don't think I posted it on other social medias at first. I would just post it on YouTube and just hope,
someone saw
by the grace of God, it would just, it would just land on, people's pages. But I also found in that it doesn't always work out like that for you. Some people can just post on a platform and it goes viral or blows up. I actually had to put a little bit more work into it, of putting it out there and posting it and getting over that fear of, if other people that I know are going to see it.
For sure. Yeah. I'm starting to see that with like YouTube. It's not as organic as probably like Twitter. Cause like when you post on Twitter, like a lot of people can see it like as soon as you post it. But it's like for it to be on YouTube, you have to like send it out to somewhere for it to get like what it's the recognition that you're trying to get for it. What was that process like for you, from like in the beginning process of like you recorded this video, you put it on YouTube. When was that transition from you posting to like you starting to get views from like the things that you were posting?
Probably when I started to put a little bit more effort into the editing part of it. I would see some people post videos and it would be very organic and people would love them for that. And not to say that my content wasn't organic. When I started editing, it just wasn't as, I just put a little bit more thought into what I was posting and how I wanted to post it, different angles, editing. So that probably was when I started to get views, when I started to, make the necessary edits. And I actually had fun editing. A lot of people don't like that process. But I think I enjoyed that process just a little bit more because it felt like my downtime. Really? I didn't have to be in front of the camera, did up, doing a bunch of stuff. All I had to do was sit there and edit for a couple hours, and it was good. And I think over time, when my editing got a little bit better, or just my creativity over time got better, that's when my views went up, as well as letting people know that, I'm on this platform.
Oh, really? So like once you got super comfortable with like the editing and, you feel like you were in a great place with that, you then started to tell people that like you were a YouTuber?
Yeah. Which is so weird to say. And I have recently taken a break from YouTube. I haven't been on YouTube for a while. I still have videos up. But I've tried my hand at different platforms.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why did you take a step back? Just because you just wanted to focus on like other things?
I would say a bit of both. A bit of focusing on other platforms and seeing where my engagement was too. Okay. YouTube is hard. Yeah. It's longer videos, which means you're editing a lot longer. You got to think of creativity. It's so many people on that platform. And some videos would do better than the others. But it just kind of got to be a lot. And especially when I'm trying to juggle other platforms. And then also seeing my engagement and response on, Instagram or now TikTok, it's just a bit different. So, yeah.
So it seems like you migrated from YouTube to like Instagram, and like you started to use Instagram more as a platform to do much of the same.
I found that the attention span, of people sometimes when it comes to videos, in shorter videos, is a lot better until they're like looking for you. What are you doing today? And so I did, migrate over to Instagram, and I found that I got a good following base. And I mean, a lot of those people, were people that I already knew, but then it grew over time to just, people finding me off of other hair content pages. So the response has been nice.
For sure. So as your audience started to grow, I can imagine that like brands started to like reach out to you. What was that process like of like the first time? I don't know if you remember the first time, but the first time was someone was like, could you promote this? I will pay you this. What was that? That?
It didn't necessarily go the way of like, can you promote this and I'll pay you. It was, can you promote this for a free product? And and I was willing to do it. So I was just happy like somebody was seeing my videos, and it may not have been a major brand, but it was somebody that was seeing my video and they wanted to give me free product. I mean, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But of course, over time, you do find out that being creative and creating for a brand, it's a lot of work, because those brands that reach out to you, they're like, well, you can't do this in your video. You have to, I don't know. You can't have other brands in your video. You got to make sure your background is nice. We want you to do it in this type of lighting, in this bathroom. So they have a lot of stipulations when they're asking you. So it kind of takes away from your creativity a little bit. And so over time, I did find like, okay, I got to start charging my worth,
100%.
with these brands, because free products are not going to cut it for even in the amount of time that they want me to have this done. They're giving me like a week or 2 weeks to have this done, and I have to put on a whole production pretty much. So I mean, at the end of the day, it was still exciting, when the first couple brands reached out and I was willing to do it for free. But after a while, you do kind of figure out like, I'm doing a lot of work and I'm worth getting paid to do this. So. And
how was the response when you started to say that? I'm sure there were brands who were like, no. I'm sure there were brands who was like, okay.
It's definitely been brands that have said no, and it's definitely been brands that said yes. The brands that say no, I mean, you get a little hurt by it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, maybe that wasn't the opportunity that was supposed to be for me. I mean, you have to kind of figure that the time and energy that you're putting into this content, like you're worth getting paid for it.
100%. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was hard me to turn down a brand because they didn't want to pay. So that's also hard too. And then sometimes you kind of find where when you're like, no, this is my rate, I'm sticking to this, they're like, okay. Because a lot of these huge brands, they have the money. More than. And all you're doing is promoting their brand, influencing people to go out, and buy it. So you're putting more money in their pocket. So, they have the money. They do.
It's great that you finally came to that conclusion of like, you were doing so much work, and then that you deserved more money. Like,
and starting out, it's okay to do it for free if that's what you want to do. I didn't have an issue in the beginning doing it, but of course over time your work gets better over time. Like as you create content, my content from 5 years ago isn't the same as the content that I'm putting out now.
100%.
Which means that I need to be getting paid.
More.
Free work back then looked a little bit different, but so
years comes experience. Like every year I always like raise my price. I raise my price like every year because I have like much more knowledge, I have much more experience, and I just feel like I'm just better at it. So like it seems like you also came to that conclusion too. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Like, it seems like that was a journey. Like, during that whole process, was it just what was it? What's the words I'm trying to, did you have someone to assist you in that process, or it was just like trial and error?
I have friends who are creative. Of course, when you have friends who are creative, it is a lot easier to go to them about different stuff. But in general, like I've never had like a mentor or anyone. If that is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I'm just asking if, like, along your process, was there someone just to help you facilitate just kind of like these talks, or just the things that you didn't understand or didn't know?
So over time it got there. At first, no. I think I got a little bit more courage over time to reach out to other content creators or influencers, because before I wouldn't. I was just like, they're at a different level, they're on a different caliber, I'm not there. But in order for you to get there, don't you think you have to reach out to someone? So I always tell people that if that's what they want to do, they want to be a content creator, it is no harm in reaching out to someone who is at the level that you want to eventually be at. Some of them respond, some of them don't.
Yeah.
It's plenty of people out there that are doing it.
For sure.
So I didn't necessarily have a mentor per se. It was just over time. Like, honestly, it's probably been recently where I'll reach out to other content creators. Like, hey, like, I need some advice on this or on that. But yeah, that's why I tell people, because, it could have taken me a shorter amount of time had I reached out to someone about it.
Yeah. I mean that's a part of the process. It's a journey. What they say, closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask the questions that you want to know, then
especially when it comes to working with brands too, because a lot of stuff I didn't know about. Like, I didn't know about usage rights and charging, where my rate should be at. Yeah. Because of different stuff. I mean, even just 2 years ago, I was working with, these big brands, and I wasn't charging my worth for the quality that I was putting out. And so I didn't learn that until over time. So that's why I encourage people, like, definitely if a brand reaches out in your email and you don't know what to do, reach out to somebody and
someone
ask
else
them.
who's doing it. Yeah. Yeah. Did you also like Google anything to help you?
I utilize YouTube a lot, so I was YouTubing a lot, or even recently now TikTok. Of course, TikTok you can search. It's another search engine, so you can search up a lot of stuff on there as well. So just looking at there are different lawyers on TikTok who are telling you about what you should be charging, your rate, and looking at contracts when it comes to brands. So it's a lot of free resources out there.
For sure.
That I would say still definitely invest in yourself if it's like a class or something. But if you don't have it right now, it's definitely a lot of free resources.
Yeah. Okay. So when did you switch, or were you at the same time doing photography?
Yeah, so I've also taken a break from photography. It gets hard juggling a lot of different stuff.
For sure.
Being a creative means you are creative in different areas, not just one.
Yeah.
And so, of course, over the years, I've just been trying to figure out where I'm best at, I guess, or if I love photography in that moment, I'm doing photography. But if I love content creating in that moment, then I'm a content creator. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I did beat myself up about that for a while, because I felt like I'm always starting over. But, I mean, we're starting over every day, if you think about it.
Facts. So,
so, I was doing photography, took a little break from that. But photography will always be my first love, So it hasn't gone anywhere.
But I think, like, so I've created my first film, like, last year. Well, it released last year. And people ask me all the time, when are you going to do another film? When are you going to do another film? When are you going to do another film? And I tell them, because like I've had like years of like just doing different things, that I realized what you kind of said, like there are just like different seasons for things. Like certain seasons I want to create clothes, certain seasons I want to do video, certain certain seasons I want to do something else. And it's just a different season for that particular thing, because like creatives, all of the creatives I've talked to, like they just want to do many things.
Right.
They don't just want to do like this one thing. They want to do many things, and you know, you don't have to feel like a particular way because you want to focus on something else at a different point or a different season. So it's great that you're kind of like giving yourself that like
that grace
to be like, I just want to do this now. I don't always have to focus on like this one discipline.
Yeah, I think we as creatives, we do kind of beat ourselves up, you know, if we switch tunes a little bit. We don't want to do this one thing anymore, and it does feel like we're starting all over from scratch. But those same people who supported you in one venture, they'll support you in the next. Yeah. So I don't beat myself up about it anymore.
I think I was surprised that you were doing photography, like when you first posted something about it, because I was like, I didn't know you did photography, because I like when we first met, you were kind of like doing like YouTube, so it was just like it was a different thing. But I wasn't surprised that like you're a creative and like you do different things. I was just surprised that I didn't know like that was something that you did.
But it's actually funny because photography was like my first love before even YouTube. So, but I didn't introduce, other people to that side of me until later on. As a lot of stuff, like what was Erykah Badu? I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive about my stuff, and photography was definitely one of those things I was really sensitive about. And so I didn't put out a lot of work. I would work with people, if they knew, like close friends, family. But it wasn't one of those things I was just giving the world, a view of.
So what kind of photography did you start with?
I mainly started out with just like portrait, which I still love portrait, but it was really just portrait photography, or even landscape, nature photography. So, and I think I just didn't want anybody critiquing my work.
Okay.
And as a female in photography, I think it's a bit different than men in photography, and the response sometimes that I would get would always be from men trying to tell me like how I can get better at it, unsolicited. And it would and that was a reason why I was like, I don't know that I'm ready to put my photography out there, because I know I'm good. It's just these people who, who are in that photography world that were quick to try to give me, before even seeing my work, quick to try to give me some tips, or oh, you should learn about this, and I'm like, I know some stuff about photography,
So how many years were you like doing photography before you actually got onto YouTube?
I was only doing photography for like maybe like 2-3 years, and it wasn't I say it like I was professionally doing it, and I wasn't. It was more of like me learning about it, and I always loved taking pictures. Whether I've probably had every camera, growing up, Polaroid and disposable, and I've just always been taking pictures. So it was probably just like a couple years before me actually getting on to YouTube.
Okay. Wow, I never knew that. So at some point, did people start to ask you to take photos for them? Yeah,
so sometimes I would, in my YouTube videos, I would show like me going to do, my photography. It wouldn't be like long videos, but you would see like, oh, I'm about to go do this shoot. And then I started doing shoots for my friends and my family. And then eventually I started posting it. I got a website. I started posting it, and the first place I was posting it was on Facebook. And Facebook, we have all our friends and family. And so that's when it became word of mouth and people reaching out to me.
How was that, like that first time? You probably don't remember the first time, but like the time when people started to pay you for something that was just a hobby or something that you love to do?
it was scary. I know a lot of people was like, I was excited. I was scared because I was like, what if they don't like it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm taking these pictures and I don't know what idea they have in their head about, you know, how it should, you know, how it's gonna look, how it's gonna turn out. So I was definitely scared, but I was like, well, scared don't, like you said, scared don't get you nowhere. Closed mouths don't get fed. So I was like, I'm gonna just do it. Yeah. And then I did it, and you know, people loved it. And a lot of time you find people, when you're doing photography and, you know, families are just reaching out to you, they don't even really know what they want.
Not at all. Not even close.
It's a lot of people that don't really know what they want when it comes to photography.
They expect you to know. Yeah, like, so you're kind of the professional.
You give them, it's great. So yeah.
Honestly, I remember the first time that someone wanted me to shoot their wedding, and I was like, I was afraid, like, because I knew what I liked for myself, and I thought that, like, people thought I was like much more better than I was. And you know, it's different, like when you're doing something for yourself, like, you know, you love what you love, but like it's different when you're trying to imagine what is this person going to love, right? Like what are they going to like? And I was nervous. I charged, like, the number was like crazy low, like crazy low, because but way below my worth. Yeah. Because I didn't understand, because I felt like I wasn't worthy of the moment. I wasn't worthy for them to like ask me to do this, especially a wedding. Like, you have to make sure to capture like those moments, and these are the moments that are going to stay with people for such a long time in their lifetime. And that, I felt like that was just like too big. Yeah. So I was terrified of that.
Oh, I completely understand. I've only done probably 2 weddings. After that, I said no. That is a different type of stress. Yeah. But to your point, I think we as creatives, we tend to do that a lot. If it's something that we're doing for the first time, like, you've done photography for a while, you just never done a wedding, for sure, but you don't end up charging what your worth is. But your photography is good at the end of the day. So why are you lowballing yourself? So I definitely think that we do that, and I completely understand that, because weddings are, like I said, that's a different type of stress.
It's a different beast.
And that's not one of the things that I advertised at all when it came to photography, because you can't get that day back. Nah.
I mean, people still ask me to do weddings to this day, and that was, I think that was the only wedding that I did photos of. From that point on, I didn't do any more, because I realized that day was like a 12-hour day. Yeah. And I think I asked, I'm gonna say the number, I think I asked for like $200 for like 12 hours. Like $200, but they gave me like an extra $50. Because they knew, and it was so last minute too. They was like, we lost a photographer, and like, we want to get you. And if I had the present of mind, if I knew what I knew now, then I could have charged like crazy. Right. Yeah. But like, I was like, you know, since you coming to me late, you know, last minute person like dropped out on you, I'm gonna just do it for $200. And she looked at me. She didn't say anything. Like, she didn't say anything. And the crazy part about it is, like, I know how much she paid for her venue. Like, she paid like stupid amount of money for her venue. That's why she was looking at you like. And she's like, okay. Wow. Like, okay. So like, I didn't know about that then, but like afterwards I was like, man, like, that's crazy. Like, I could have charged so much more in that moment, but I just didn't know, because I felt like I wasn't worthy at that time.
But it's all a learning experience, you know. It's like, who would have told you that?
No, nobody.
Yeah. So she didn't tell you.
she didn't tell me. I mean, I'm super grateful for it, because like, she still follows me, and she says like they love the pictures, because like at that time I wasn't like a wedding photographer, so I didn't shoot in the style of a wedding photographer. So like, I used to take photos, right? And the only reason I was taking photos was to be able to capture my life, and the way I captured my life was I would catch movement. So like, anytime a person was doing something, I would capture that, to capture that moment. And I wouldn't, you know, pose anybody or anything like that. So she fell in love with that kind of photography. And so since I wasn't like the typical photographer, that's how I shot the wedding.
Yeah.
I shot the wedding like as like a moment, like everything were moments, like moment this, moment that.
Yeah.
And I look at it today, I look at the pictures today, and I love the pictures because we capture like some like immaculate moments. Like some of them look like as if like it was a movie, basically, and they love the photos. But at the time, I just didn't know the worth of like what I was doing. Like I had the gifts, I had the skills. I didn't have the experience in the sense of like the business. I had the experience in the sense of like the creativity and like the work that I put in. But like, I wish she would have said like, you're charging way too little for this project. And you know, she I mean, they gave me an extra 50, and I thought at the time I was like, "Yo, they gave me an extra 50." Right.
You was probably jumping for joy.
Exactly. But even that extra 50 was still too low.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But it's a part of the process, and you know, I don't shoot photography in weddings, and I'm really just trying to get away from weddings. I don't post about it. Like people like. How people know what I do is just kind of like word of mouth, the stuff I've done for people or the work they've seen for me. And so when people come to me to ask me for weddings, I only do it if I know the person.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I've had a like a relationship with them, but like if it's like somebody outside of that, I'm like, no, I don't do weddings anymore.
Yeah, because that's a long day. 12 hours, that's a long day.
12 hours. Like, and that was like the longest wedding I've ever done.
I do like what you said about the moments, because I've never been the type of photographer that likes to pose people either. It's like, okay, if that's what you want, you know, okay, that's fine. But I do like in the moment type photography, and I always focused on that when it came to my photography. And I guess over time, because a lot of people do want the family portraits, the pose, you know, that may be the reason that I kind of shifted on, I guess, my focus when it comes to my creativity and where I want to go. Yeah. Like,
I honestly, like, a friend just asked me to do their wedding, and I said, like, before him, I was like, the last wedding I did, that was just going to be the last wedding I was going to do. I was like, the next time someone wants me to do a wedding, they're going to have to pay me $100,000 to do this wedding. And he asked me, and I'm like,
but you know him.
I know him. I do know him, and so I'm like, I ask him questions like every day. So like, when it's a wedding, how long is it going to be?
Right.
I'm asking all of these strenuous questions, but like he came to me, he asked me, so like I'm going to do it, but like part of me is like,
that's when you have to hit him. I usually don't do this.
Exactly. I'm gonna hit him with that. I'm gonna hit him with that.
I usually don't do this,
but you my boy.
You, so you better throw a plate in there too at the reception. I mean,
everyone always feeds me. I'm not doing a wedding unless they feed me.
Yeah. I feel that.
It's a long. It's like 12 hours. Well, I don't do 12 hours. Like the longest I would do now is about like 8 hours.
Yeah. But even like, that is still that's a work day.
Facts.
On your feet the entire time.
The whole time. And yeah, I remember like the last wedding I did, my mother asked me to do it because it was like her friend, and that was her gift to them. And she was like, please, like, do this wedding. I'm like, yo, you gonna have to pay me. Like, obviously, I didn't charge her like what I would charge like somebody else, but like I gave her like a son discount, and they loved the wedding. They loved the wedding video and all of that. So like, it was a great time. It was a great time. But like, weddings, like you said, weddings are a different beast. Yeah, weddings are definitely a different beast.
Yeah, I never want to again.
Never again. So you done weddings? You're retired?
Nope. And even now, when people ask me, just in general, because I still get people who will ask me to do photography for them, and I'm quick to be like, my friend does photography. Here's her website, and you know, because I'm just not there anymore. Sure. You know, I like to do justice when it comes to the art that I put out. So I don't want to just be doing a shoot and I'm just not into it. And then now you don't have the best quality of pictures. So I'm just, maybe one day I'll navigate back to the photography world. But right now I'm in content creator, influencer world. So.
Yeah. Same with me. Someone asked me to do a photo for them, like take pictures for them, and I was like, I haven't done photos in like years. And the last photos I did was back in 2019. It was for my aunt, and before then it was like years then. So like I'm only shooting. Honestly, I don't even have the camera. I don't have the cameras to shoot photos. I have like video cameras, and so like I can take stills with them, but it's not what I would want to take with them, and I'm not going to buy a $3,000, $4,000 camera just to take pictures for like one day.
Right.
So maybe there will be another season for that, but like as of now, I do the same thing like you. I'm like, yo, this person does a way better job than I do. Like I don't even touch the camera anymore. So like, yeah, it's different.
I know. Sometimes like when people say it, I'm like, I hate to tell you. And I feel bad, and I know they're probably like, dang, like I really just wanted you, and I'm like, well, that's not the season that I'm in right now, and I don't want to just do it because you're asking, and I don't want to do it. Yeah. It's just that simple, you know. So, and it's not gonna. I don't want anything out there that's not gonna represent, me in the biggest light. So I don't want to do this, photography shoot for somebody, and they're like, well, I don't really like the pictures, but that's my friend, or so I don't say yes. Yeah.
How would you define a content creator? Like, what is a content creator?
Content creator is, I guess, is anybody that's on social media, whether you want to be labeled content creator or influencer. Like anything you put out there, you're creating something. You're influencing somebody to buy something. Like if you post a picture of yourself and somebody asks where you got your shirt from,
for sure,
you're influencing them to go buy it. But I guess when it comes to an actual creative, I guess I would define that as somebody putting the most, I guess, valuable or intimate pieces out there of themselves on display, pretty much. And it is very vulnerable to do. But I think creatives are very courageous
for sure
for doing it.
Yeah. So do you feel a level of vulnerability when you put out particular types of content?
Definitely. Every time I put something out, every single time, it doesn't matter what it is. If I put it out there, I feel very vulnerable because this, it's something that I have fun doing. It's something I take pride in. It's something that I enjoy. And if I put it out there, it's like, oh, I want you to enjoy it too. I want you to find that same inspiration or whatever emotions it evokes when I'm putting it out there. So it's definitely, it's vulnerable. You're sharing a piece of yourself, a piece of a creative, piece of yourself. So. Yeah. So, okay. I can definitely see that. Like for me, like when I put out something, I don't think of like other people. I don't think about like how other people are going to respond to it. I think about it from a standpoint of like, if I love it, then people will love it. Right. So like, I think like if it moves me, like it's going to move other people, because in many cases, like I can be nonchalant in many ways, but like when something like really like touches me, like I'm really like super moved by it. And because I put like so much into my work, then I'm moved by my work. So I'm like, yo, if this moves me, then it's going to move other people. And that is like in many ways like a level of vulnerability to be able to put, because I put so much of myself into my work. That's like me, my soul, my life into that. So I think if I looked at it from like a different perspective of like how you said, like it's being a content creator, like it's a level of like vulnerability that comes with it. Especially when you put it out there for people to consume. That could be like pretty vulnerable. Like you could put yourself in a pretty vulnerable position, especially if you put yourself into your work. I think it's not always about somebody's actual comment or like or response. It's like, it's somebody on the other end of this computer, this phone, like looking at it like this made my day.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think we relate on that end.
For
like
sure.
I wanted to inspire somebody on the same level that it did me. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's creativity is different.
Yeah.
Different. People don't understand, like, working with like different clients, and they just like think creativity is just like something that you just do, but it's like something that like comes from, and if you're not like cautious with it, people don't understand, like, you can be exhausted by like creating, because it's coming from like a different source than like
just like an everyday activity, everyday thinking. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's like, I think people think that creatives are always creative. I am not. Honestly, it's probably 2 days out of the week or month where I feel inspired to get up and like do something when it comes to creativity. Like I don't always feel creative, and a part of that is I'm exhausted from pushing out all this content or being creative all the time. So then I guess that's where discipline comes into play, because I don't always feel like posting.
Yeah.
I don't always feel like, ready to get on TikTok and push out some content or, create for this brand that has a deadline by next week. Is just something that I've disciplined myself to do, which is also hard because it's not like a 9-to-5 job where you have to get up every day and go in to work. It's structured. It's like you kind of building your own structure when it comes to that. I that's how I used to be, like when I first was just like a creator without like any bounds. Like I would just like create when I felt like, when I was inspired, when I was like, when I wanted to create. Then there was like a transition when I started to work with people when they had like deadlines, and I realized I just couldn't wait till I was inspired to like create something because like there was a deadline. Right. It was vastly different, and it was something that was pretty difficult to like understand over time, because it's like, I'm not inspired, I can't create this. And then I would like miss these deadlines, and these clients would be like, yo bro, like I had a deadline. And at the time I wasn't charging anything, so like these people really couldn't say anything, but because I took like some of their money, they felt like they had some say into like how things were supposed to go. And I realized like it was I would hit my head. Some days I would like pass with flying colors, but then I just came to this conclusion of like, if I wanted to be in this space, then I had to be professional, and I had to create like a professional, like. And so like that was like, once I had like that click, once it clicked for me in my head, then I kind of became much more free, and like my ability to create like at any time. And that's just like a different level. That is creativity. A different level. And I'm glad you talked about professionalism, because in creativity, and I do, when people have reached out to me about being a content creator, they think it's all like great and fun. It's like, well, you still have to have a level of professionalism, especially when you're emailing back and forth with these brands or talking to them. You still have to be professional. You still have to act as if you're in, the professional world, because it's almost like you're still a face of your brand.
For sure, yeah.
So if you just doing it whenever, it's not gonna work.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah.
So what was the transition from Instagram to TikTok? Because you're a lot more popping on TikTok right now than you are on Instagram, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. So I want to say I transitioned to TikTok. Well, it was, of course, during the pandemic. We were all in the house, not doing anything. So I wasn't necessarily popping on TikTok when I first got on TikTok. I just wanted to, experiment with that platform. I was like, oh, it's a different platform. I'm feeling a little stagnant on Instagram, on my other platform. So let me see what TikTok is talking about. Let me see what the kids are talking about on TikTok. So I started posting on there probably around May last year, actually. And then I posted one video in like October. I had been posting since like early in like May. And then October, I had posted this one video. And then all of a sudden, it just like did numbers. And I was surprised because it jumped from being on TikTok to Instagram to Facebook, and I have people messaging me like, here's the video, I just saw it on Facebook. I'm like, I didn't even post it over there. So it was just so, I don't know, it was just odd, like it, other people posting the video on other platforms, and it kind of shell shocked me. I was shocked. I was like, this is the most simple video. Like I'm putting all my efforts and work into these other videos.
Simple things.
And I posted a video of me taking down my hair, before going to brunch, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna just do that from now on. So yeah, that it kind of took off more in October, and then over time I've still just been posting on that platform, and it's still hard because even though one video takes off, that doesn't mean that you just popping from now on. You still have to put in the work and consistency, because as quick as people see you on that video, it'll be just as quick. You don't post anymore. Sure. People are like, well, where'd you go? Yeah. So I still had to be consistent in posting.
So what type of videos do you post on there? Is it vastly different than something you would have posted on YouTube or Instagram?
I wouldn't say it's vastly different, but I will say TikTok definitely has a different type of audience. They are a bit bolder in their comments, but I love TikTok. The content that I mainly post, I think I was just playing around to see what would stick on TikTok. So of course on Instagram it was a lot of hair content, and just promoting my YouTube, promoting across platforms. When I got on TikTok, I was just like, in the beginning, I was all over the place. I'm like, I'm going to just post this and see how it does. I'm going to post this. And that's definitely how that platform is, because I don't have to just be in this one niche. Everybody likes to use that word, pick a niche and be in it. But I did find that to kind of be a little stressful, just being in this one niche, because I felt like, well, I shouldn't have to just post hair content. Like I'm more than that. I like posting that. I like giving healthy hair tips, and especially to Black women. I love helping them out, giving them products. But that's not all that I am. I have a lot more to offer. So I do lifestyle. I do skincare, and I get vulnerable about that. Like I talk about my struggle when it came to my skin and my insecurities over time. So yeah, I'm all over the place on TikTok.
Yeah, so you have a different audience. What would you say? Is it not only Black women on TikTok? It's just...
No, it's mainly Black women. I think the response, when it comes to the audience, the response is just a bit different. Like when they comment something, like they want the answer then and there. They're like, well, where you at? We've been waiting on this answer.
Really?
So yeah, it's a bit different. I love it. I love TikTok, but it's kind of hard for me to explain unless somebody is on TikTok how the audience differs than as opposed to like YouTube or, in the video, you get 7-second 60-second videos as opposed to on YouTube or, another platform you get 10-minute, to 20-minute videos.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For those people who may not know, I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know. I have no idea what she's talking about, but yeah. So like when you first started to be a content creator, when you started to put your stuff out there, did you have a vision of like what you wanted to become?
I kind of did. So I used to follow the OG Natural on YouTube, Natural 87. I don't know if she changed her name, but that was one of like the first YouTubers that I watched, and I watched her faithfully. Like I was like, I want to have the women commenting like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. Oh my goodness, like give me some tips. And that's, where I wanted to be. And of course, over time, my idea of where I want to be as a content creator has changed. But in the beginning, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I even thought that I would even be at a level to be making money from creating content, because, a lot of people don't think that people can make a lot of money from, posting on social media. And so I did kind of have that idea, even though I liked it and I enjoyed it. I wasn't like, I'm gonna be making all this money from social media and I'm gonna just be traveling the world. And, I didn't have that idea. I was just doing it because it was fun to do. And it still is fun to do, but that was the only reason that I was doing it. So I guess I would say now I do see, I see that it is possible, of course. I've worked with brands. I see that you can get paid as a content creator. You can get paid, a lot, from the content that you put out there. And so I do see myself, eventually it being a full-time thing, where I don't have to think about it, where it's matching the income that I'm at now with my job and even surpass it.
Yeah.
So I think it came over time, the idea of where I wanted to go when it came to creating content.
Yeah. Do you believe in affirmations?
Affirmations?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really say affirmations.
You don't say affirmations?
I don't. I don't really say.
The only reason I ask that because like this portion of the show, I like for people to speak the things that they see for themselves.
Okay.
Like the intentions they have, the things they say after I am. So like, whatever you say after I am, that's who you become or that's who you are. So typically, if a person wanted to make $100 million, they'd be like, I am going to make $100 million. I am going to create like an award-winning film for like festivals or just like many things. And so like I like for people to have this opportunity to speak for things that they want to speak for themselves in their lives. And later on, like when you're probably like looking at this video years from now, or somebody is looking at this video from years from now, this person spoke what they wanted to become. And so this is your opportunity to speak up the things that you want for yourself.
Okay. I am a full-time creative content creator. I am traveling the world. I am influencing women and Black women in particular to have healthy hair, long hair, beautiful skin. I'm a creative.
That feels good.
Yeah. I hope to look back on this and be like, you did it.
Look at that. So for the person who is in your for the person who's in your shoes at the beginning of your journey, right? What would you say to them to get to a place that they want to get to, or is trying to get to your place right now, what would you say to that person?
I feel like we always say just start, and that is like, you have to start, but it's always going to be a process. Like, I'm still in the process. And it's not, I wouldn't say that it's like the hardest thing to do, but it takes consistency. It takes you have to be, passionate about it in order for it to work. You can't just do it because you see other people doing it and you want to, make money from it, because that's not why you start. You start because you love to do it, you want to do it, and it's something you find enjoyment in, and it is attainable, but yeah, like I said, just start. You got to start somewhere. So.
Just start, guys.
Just start.
Just start.
Just do it like Nike.
Just do it like Nike. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, April, for coming on the show and dropping your gems, telling your story. I know it's going to be impactful for so many people. I know it's like surprising to hear about like your photography journey and how that was like the beginning, and how like that was your first love to you, doing YouTube and crossing over, becoming a content creator. Thank you for like just giving me your time and allowing people to see and listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I enjoyed myself.
Well, my name is Antonio Knox. That is April Goode, and this was the Gradient Radio.